Even brought my fake license plate. This is for the video, not for deceiving people. I haven't really been home for the last month, so progress on the cars has been pretty slow, and there's a couple of little super easy things I want to finish on the E30 before I put it away for storage. The weather's starting to get cold and rainy, so a convertible car isn't really the best to be driving around. Right now, the Quattro is in the storage unit that I rented for the E30, so I need to finish up the last couple of things on this car so that I can switch them around, keep the E30 nice and dry during the winter, and maybe drive the Quattro in the snow. If you follow my Instagram, you probably know that I like to make some pretty overly produced reels. Even for me as a professional filmmaker, it takes a lot of time and effort setting up the tripod and the red and the audio and all that stuff. It's a lot of fun for me, and that's why I do it. It's important to me that the reels have good continuity, and I like to make it look like I did the whole thing in one day, even if that's not the case, which usually means wearing the same shirt and making sure my appearance looks similar. The problem is the reel on this BMW I started shooting was about 2.5 weeks ago, so I need to go clean up my scruff a little bit and go find the shirt that I was using. I usually keep the shirt that I was wearing hung up in the garage, so it's almost impossible to forget, but I couldn't remember what pants I was wearing, so I pulled the video up. Sounds a little silly, but a sudden outfit change during a video would be even more ridiculous. So that's all sorted out. Here's what's going on with the car. I had these aftermarket lug conversions to get rid of the lug bolts so I could run studs. The only problem is these aren't long enough to run spacers, and I needed to run 5mm spacers in the front to clear the brakes. I noticed that these were only engaging about 5 threads, which is pretty dang close to the absolute minimum. I would say you should probably have at least 6 or 7 threads engaging fully. I got these more extended ones, which are really cool. I've already installed them in the back. What I've noticed though is in the back where there's no spacer, this cap isn't gonna fit on here. So I might actually cut this little tip off of them. This little tip on the lug stud makes sure that the nut can't cross thread. It forces it on perfectly straight. So, you know, it's cool for like race car, rally car applications, but I might end up having to buy some different ones and doing this all over again, or just cutting them off with the angle grinder. I noticed that the nipples to bleed the brakes were really worn out, so I got these new ones. But what's really cool about these, I'd never even heard about them before, kind of bought them by accident, is they're called speed bleeders. They actually have a check valve inside of them that only lets the bubbles to flow outwards. You can't suck air into the brake bleeders, and what that means is you can actually bleed your brakes by yourself and pump the brakes with the valve open, and you hopefully won't be able to suck in any air. I'm really curious how I did not know about these before, and I'm really curious why cars just don't come with them standard. When I was bleeding my brakes last, I had to use vice grips to get the bleeder valves open, and it would not be fun to break those. So I'm gonna replace them with some brand new ones, but these aren't just your typical bleeder valves. All right, here goes nothing. I'm sure there's probably some type of drawback. Maybe some of you know more about these and can leave it in the comments, because I'm super curious why you wouldn't just put these on every single car. They're pretty cool. While I'm back here, I'm gonna do a little brake upgrade. Somebody recommended that I get these Hawk HP Plus pads to go along with the brake booster delete that I did over the summer. I really don't mind the way the pedal feels, especially since this car isn't a daily driver, but it's supposed to make them grip just a little bit better and a little easier on the pedal. Definitely doing something wrong, because changing brake pads is not supposed to be this hard. Well, that's not working. Only thing that did was make me deaf. I was trying to take the entire caliper off because I couldn't find the 2 bolts that you use to take just the main piece off that hold the pads together. So I was just going for it, but I figured out there's these 2 plastic caps that were covering some Allen bolts. Should be a lot easier now. There's lots of life left on these pads, but they've been on the car for probably 10 years. I don't think I've ever replaced them, so I'm just gonna chuck them in the trash. I was trying to spread out the caliper without using the proper brake pad tool, but it's just gonna end up gouging up the pads if I'm trying to jam a screwdriver in there and stuff, so might as well just try going for it the right way. Thank God for Amazon tools. It'd be really nice to clean up some of these parts. I think this one used to be zinc plated, but I don't have a zinc plater yet, maybe one day. For now, I just wanna put this thing back together and get it back on the road so I can switch it with the Quattro. So the microphone on the red just died. I guess I'll take a lunch break while that charges up, and then I'll do the other 3 corners. And I got one last thing to fix on the car after that. This is a good time to sit down and just take a look at all the footage, make sure I didn't forget anything. I just noticed that that microphone had actually died before I sat down and shot the scene of me pumping the brakes in the car. I might reshoot that, but instead what I might do is just use an AI tool to fix the scratch audio off the camera so that it sounds good. Might be hit or miss. All right, let's see if these things work. I got all the new brake pads on and I bled all 4 corners, and I'm pretty glad I did because there was actually some really nasty stuff in there. This car is so low being on air ride that the sway bar end links were binding whenever I'd air the car down, and it actually wasn't letting the car go as low as I wanted it to. So I ended up unhooking the sway bar, and me being a little bit of a form over function guy, I was okay with it for a while, but I really want to get it hooked up so the car drives a little bit better. I bought these adjustable sway bar end links, so hopefully these will have the adjustment to get that all fixed up. So this is actually the first time I've filmed a YouTube video and an Instagram reel at the same time, and it's really kind of a pain in the butt remembering what I've done and what I haven't, and one's vertical, one's horizontal, so I can't really do it all at the same exact time on the same camera. But I've got a little trick up my sleeve here. I've got my phone attached to the lift. I've got every single parameter on the phone. I can adjust the camera, even the focus. It even lets you do a manual rack focus if you want to, and then I can trigger it here with the start button, and then I'm good to go. What's up, guys? It's Lauren. It's your boy. We out here in the garage. So the biggest difference with these is going to allow me to turn the bracket sideways, so the Heim joint is going to pivot with the car when it airs down. I'm not sure why BMW designed it the other way around. I'm sure they had a pretty good reason, but they definitely didn't expect somebody to put air ride on their 1992 318i. Underneath the car, you can see what I'm talking about. As the car lowers, the suspension actually moves upwards relative to it. And the problem occurs when the sway bar reaches a certain point that it actually starts to move backwards rather than up. The end links aren't meant to do this, and it was actually trying to rip it out of the bracket that was attached here on the lower control arm. The end links are all tightened up, and I got the wheel back on the car. I've got some wooden blocks under here so we can lower the lift jack and push the wheel up into the fender as far as it'll possibly go. Looks like it's working great. The end links are at a little bit of an odd angle, but I don't drive the car this height, so I think it's gonna be fine. And I saved the best for last. I'm gonna put the BBSs back on the car and then take it for a little spin. I built these wheels pretty wide. I'd say they're a little excessive with the tire stretch. It makes them lose a little bit of air sometimes here and there, which is unfortunate. I would have chosen a wider tire, but they literally don't make a tire any wider than this in this low of a sidewall. And that's it. So I haven't driven the E30 at all since I dyno tuned it 2 months ago, which I feel like is very ironic. The clutch slave blew out and then the car sat for about a month. I fixed that, and then I've just been gone traveling for work constantly. So I'm just gonna drive this thing over to the storage unit where the Quattro's parked and swap it out so that it doesn't get rained on over the winter and end up with a bunch of leaky mold in the interior, which is pretty much what happened last year. Hopefully the Quattro is in good shape and hasn't been devoured by mice or anything like that. I think it should be fine, but we're about to find out. Brakes still feel pretty similar. I mean, you still got to push on them pretty hard. They're not power brakes anymore, so I've expected that. I don't drive this car very hard, so having the front sway bar reattached probably won't make that big of a difference. I'm sure it'll cut down a lot of the body roll, which will be nice. The thing only made 100 horsepower on the dyno. It's kind of just a little putt-around car. Hilariously, I've been waiting to get my hair cut until I finished that Instagram video, so that's the first thing I'm gonna go do right now. All right, I feel much better now. Let's go get the Quattro finally. Pretty lucky guy, I can just go grab a Quattro out of storage, no big deal. Yep, I definitely missed this thing. I think the real trick will be getting the E30 into the unit. It's got quite a steep ledge. It's like a double step getting up into it, but I have the air ride all the way up. I'm just gonna back it in real easy. Yeah, backing it in didn't go so well. It got hung up on that second step on the power steering rack. I thought that was gonna be easier, but going front in was the way. I guess I'll pack this thing up and see it in 4 months. Yesterday I drove the Quattro around quite a bit enjoying it, but I'm also looking for a place to shoot a video of my 240. Since it's getting a new body kit and color, I wanted to make one last video of it in this phase of its life. It's a little bit sad, but I'm also really excited. The problem is all the coolest spots to film this thing either seems to be somebody's private driveway or a busy road, and I really want to be secluded and not bug anyone, just have an hour or two to myself to make the video. It's a really simple video where I'm just going to walk up, get in the car, and drive away, but I want to have a lot of angles, and I just don't want to be bugged. I put new spark plugs in it the other day because water drips down the vents in my hood down into the valve cover and gets the coil packs wet and it corrodes everything. So that's all handled now. I just need to get the alignment fixed. Ever since I put the new rack in, I forgot to clock the wheel when I put it back in, so the steering wheel was off by a lot. Now I just need to fix that and then we'll go make a little video. So this is really pretty trivial. I think I've already got the auto cancel figured out for the turn signals. I just need to take it for a little drive and see how straight the steering wheel is. If not, I'll unscrew this giant bolt here and clock it so that it is, and then I can put the quick release on and we'll be good to go. Looks like it's off by about a tooth, so I'm gonna pull over and fix that. Whoopsie. Looks pretty straight now. These screws have come loose before, so I'm gonna replace them with some brand new ones and also use a little bit of Permatex thread locker on them. Button head Allens are the only thing that works with the quick release, and they're just so tiny. It's like an M3. I'm afraid I'm gonna strip these out. So we'll see if I ever take this thing off again, if I'm able to now that the thread locker is on there, but I definitely don't want them coming loose while I'm driving. So I think it's worth it if I have to drill them out when the time comes. We'll see. Make sure I got all my camera stuff. So I think I found a pretty cool spot. It's like an orchard, I think, and it's definitely in front of somebody's house. I mean, everything's gonna be in front of somebody's house for the most part. Hopefully I just don't annoy them. I'm on a public road, so there's not much they can do, but it's a dead end. There's not a lot of traffic. I can just kind of set up and relax and get my shots and go. That's the plan. I even brought my fake license plate. This is for the video, not for deceiving people. All right, we're kind of shooting into the sun here. I'm just gonna set the tripod up and see how it looks. Hopefully it's nice, because I don't really have the energy to go somewhere else. Yeah, this is gonna be a lot of glare with the sun. Hopefully the polarizer will help a little bit. Oh, I already see a car coming. Fudge. So I'm gonna double expose this shot, I think, because the sun is so bright. What that means is I'm gonna expose the camera for the sky. I'm gonna hit record, roll on that for a few seconds, and then I'm gonna change the exposure to be exposed for the car. And then in post, I'll splice the two clips together and it'll look much nicer. All right, so the scene is just me walking up to the car, getting in it. It probably helps a lot that I'm wearing a white sweater so that I'm not so backlit and dark with the sun, but let's see, I'm gonna look over the footage. I'm not exactly stoked on this. I think what I'm gonna do is put the camera in the road and get much more of a straight line shot of the car, I think is more what I want here. This will also get rid of all the glare. This is why I wanted somewhere really secluded. This dude's driveway right here would be sick, but I don't want to piss anybody off. All right, I'm gonna stop documenting every single step now because it's gonna take me twice as long to film this, so I'm just gonna cut away to the finished video. Here it is.